I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I got T-Carp on the podcast today.
Via phone line.
Via phone line, yes. For those that don't know T-Carp, can you give yourself a brief summary of who you are?
Sure. I'm just another fellow comic book collector, gamer, from Winnipeg. Is mostly just the generalist idea there.
And you're kind of a member of Meet the Geeks, officially or
Yeah.
unofficially, or however you want to call that.
In some respect, one way or the other. Yeah.
Yeah. So we met Thomas. God, how many
That was
years
your
ago
first
was it?
year.
What was that
2007,
Comic-Con?
10 years ago. No, 11 years ago.
11 years ago?
11 years.
So it was at Comic-Con, and Thomas had a comic called Insert Coin, which was actually pretty
Well,
funny.
I met you before that because that was when you guys were doing your comic.
Yes. The Meet the
I
Geeks
had a
comic.
table in 2008, and then I met you guys the year before, 2007. And you guys got a picture with me because I was your first fan.
Yeah. And still our only fan.
Yeah. No, I think there was one more we met at one point. There's one other person that was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a fan." So there's two fans.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, so one of the things that popped up on Twitter feed and all that sort of stuff was I was talking about has trade comic books replaced collecting single issue comics. So if you're a collector and you collect every month, you collect your issue of Spider-Man or X-Men or Superman or Batman, are we losing some of those people that collect monthly over people that just wait and collect the whole run in a trade paperback?
Yeah. And I think it was phrased differently online when you put it there, or when I saw it first, and it was just phrased as whether trades are killing comic book collecting.
That's
opposed to
I got the post right in front of
collecting.
me here. Have trades killed comic collecting?
Yeah. So I mean, comic collecting. I think another friend of ours put a post on that, or put a comment on that post of yours, with a very very good point of like his post was just it looks like a collection to me.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Shane actually replied to the post. Looks like comic book collection to me, because I posted a picture of my part of my trade paperback collection, which is ridiculously huge. And in the picture, I only posted 2/3 of one of the shells.
Yeah, it was a very small portion of it.
Very small portion. You know how big it is. It's
yeah.
big. I've sold a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your 2 cents on the whole thing?
Which way you want to look at that? Like, if it's collecting, if we're asking whether it's just killing comic book collecting in general, no, because like Shane said, that there is a collection. As far as single issue collecting, I definitely do both, especially with all the tie-ins that happen with a lot of comics now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, like I read Spider-Man still. Like, I still go to the comic book shop on a fairly regular basis and pick up my individual issues and read those.
Okay, so so directly related to that, would you be able to wait for that storyline to be complete and only collect the trade? Would you actually make that choice?
Yes. And I do that for some, like, my favorite comic book right now is a comic called Atomic Robo.
Okay.
And it's an indie comic, and it's really silly, and it's really by two guys who they have to put them up online first, and then they come out in single issues, and then they release the trade. And I don't read them online. I don't read the single issues anymore. So I just get the trades.
Can you clarify that again? I think that's kind of an interesting, important way that comics are coming out nowadays. Yeah. So how did they release again? Maybe explain it.
They initially they were doing just like single issues in stores and then trades, and they changed publishers. Now what they do is they have each page goes out online, individually as a webcomic kind of format.
Yep.
So it's like 3 times a week. So that when they have a story finished, they release each page as a webcomic, and then each story arc of theirs has like 5-ish or so issues. So they release each page of the first issue,
Okay.
and the next one, so on and so forth. And they release them online as individual pages. And once one entire issue has been released online, then that issue is released in store.
Okay.
And then once all the issues for that story arc are released, then they release the trade in store.
And are they doing a hardcover or a trade paperback?
They do paperback.
Paperback, okay. Now that's kind of the model that LAR follows as well. For at least I could do, and Looking for Group.
Yeah, it's very, very, very similar to that model, and it's obviously in a modern digital era that works really, really well for collectors today.
And I really
for publishers
like that format. I actually really do like that format a lot.
It definitely works. I mean, everyone's online. But then as to the question about whether the trade collecting kills the viewership, I used to buy the single issues and then I would buy the trade when they were just doing that.
Yep.
And right now I don't read them online. I don't get the single issues anymore. I just wait for the trade to come out for Atomic Robo.
Right.
But I do that for that one because it's a much shorter run comic.
Sure.
Right? Like my X-Men comics, my Spider-Man comics, there's a new one every month, and that's not like a changing thing, right?
Yeah.
So I know every month there's going to be a new comic. It's an ongoing thing that just keeps going all the time. Whereas something like Atomic Robo, they have their stories. They release a story once or twice a year. They come out with a new story arc to release. So for that one, because I think for me, because it's a shorter run stories, for those ones I wait for the trades.
Okay.
Whereas other ones,
that's interesting because that's very interesting because if you're taking like a long running comic like the X-Men or Batman or Superman or anything like that, they do have story arcs and they do have generalized story arcs that are.
But not all those arcs end up in trades.
No.
And so that's the thing. And me, I mean, the trades are a way of getting things missed, perhaps. Like with Spider-Man, the best example I can think of is, but a couple of years ago they had Spider-Verse. With all the different Spider-Man incarnations throughout the multiverse of Marvel.
And that was over how many Spider-Man titles? Like how many Spider-Man titles?
Well, that's the thing is there was several different titles, and they had special release ones that were just for Spider-Verse as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So I didn't get all of them. I had the ones that I was reading, and then once it all wrapped up, they released it's basically a trade omnibus. Every issue from every line that was involved in Spider-Verse in one trade, and that I bought.
One trade?
Yes.
Oh,
one hardcover.
Okay. So you picked
that I
that
bought
up,
because
obviously.
That was everything.
Yeah. So that's like I remember like when the trades first started coming out, you never knew if a comic was going to get collected in trade format. You never knew. They did it for special things like the Dark Phoenix saga. Like, if it was something that sold really well, through single issues, they would take and make a trade out of it, almost like a commemorative sort of thing. Like, hey, this sold really well, and people really like the story, so we're going to put it in trade for you. But now it seems it's a reverse psychology that a lot of the comics are, okay, we know we're going to do a 5 or 6 issue arc. We know we're going to put it into trade. And sometimes they're almost writing arcs in that manner to sell trades, I feel. I don't know if that's true or not, but I feel they go that way. So if you're collecting comics, you could vie out of not getting the single issue because you know it will get captured in a trade, especially if it's part of an event or something like that. And you can say, I'm not going to buy all these issues. I wait till they put everything into one collected edition and just buy it that way. So in the old days, you never knew, and you had to collect those single issues because, who knows if they're going to collect it in a trade or not. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it's just, I mean, like for me, like I still do mostly single issues, and then some of them I'll get in trades for various reasons. Like I said, like Spider-Verse I got because there's other issues in there. Atomic Robo I get for its own reasons. But Andrew, the friend that who I go to the comic shop with, I go with him and Shelby all the time. And Andrew has gone away from single issues and gets mostly just trades now.
Oh, he did
So I think.
switch.
Oh yeah, he's been trading. He's been switching his subscription at the comic shop where he has only a few single issues he gets now. He'll pick up whenever we're there. He'll pick up some new ones that he wants to read or whatever.
Sure.
But on his actual pull list is mostly just trades now.
That's interesting.
And so he's gone the other direction where he'll do mostly trades and a few single issues, where I do the other direction and I do mostly single issues and then trades.
So you guys are basically both ends of the spectrum right there.
Yeah. But we both go to the comic shop. I mean, we usually go there together. It's usually a planned thing. We'll go once a month or so, and we'll both go at the same time and pick up our stuff. And
see,
that's
like in the old days for me. I think with the trades, like the one thing that I always tried to do is, I'd always buy my single issues, and at one point I had 24 different titles I was subscribed to. And then I would always, go in the shop, and I didn't ever have to browse the comic books themselves because I knew what I was getting. I was very up to date on, what was coming out and what artist was working on what title and, what writer was switching to that title. And I always collected everything that I wanted to collect. But then when I went to the comic shop, it was to browse the trades and go, oh yeah, this arc from 2 years ago or 3 years ago for this title. Like, I really want that in trade. And it was a way for me to leave the single issues aside and not go through my long box and find stuff. It was just, I'm going to keep everything in the long box and never go back to it. And if there's a particular storyline I like, I'll just pick up the trade because it was that good. Like, that's what I used to do. But now I'm on the fence on which way to go.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, like, I have all my comics in a bookshelf where you can see them from the side. And there's every times where I like to just, I'll rummage through them and look through and find an old one I haven't read in a while. And it's just nice to kind of look through all my backlog or my catalog of comics that I have and pull an old one that I haven't read since who knows how long and go through it again.
And that's single issues you're talking about that you have on your bookshelf, right?
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that idea too. And I don't think anyone else really does that. And I think that's a good way to display your comic collection. Like in a long box.
Yeah, and there's a couple other ways that we want to do it. That I want to do it too. I want to have different displays it up so I can have certain ones kind of more visible so you can see the cover. Because right now it's like just the size, right? Because it's all bookshelf.
Oh yeah.
So there's other things I want to build and do so I can have certain ones set up on display and see the cover and rotate that out every now and then and just have certain ones out.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of, I mean, they're there. I may as well display them.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Exactly. So which way should I go? Like I don't know. I'm only collecting one title at the moment, and Sylvie's collecting 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm collecting Spider-Man in trade format regularly now. So whenever the new trade comes out, they put it in my pull box or whatever, drop box or whatever you call it. They drop it in there and I just pick it up. But now I think trades work for me in general because when I was going to the comic shop, I used to go to the comic shop every week, and then I used to go every month, and then I used to go every 3 months, and now I go every 4 to 6 months. So going in and getting 3 or 4 issues of a story arc is really what I was picking. I was picking up a trade in a way because I wasn't going often enough. Like I didn't need to race there every week, and it was, to be honest, it's difficult to get to my shop because it's not close to home. Like it's a special trip to go there every time, and I got kids, so it's difficult. And the trades, how I collect single issues is basically in trade format in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm reading 6 issues at a time because I let 6 months accumulate.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I don't know, but I'm also finding, because this was talked about. There was an article. I'm trying to remember where it was, CBR or one of those sites, and they were saying that I think companies like DC they're not really making, like they're kind of doing break even on the single issues, but they're actually making a lot of money on the trades. And the only reason they're doing the single issues is so they have something to accumulate into a trade. And there's certain titles that they're continuing along even though they're losing money because they know they can make it up in the trade. So it's sort of like a placeholder for not canceling a title because you're always going to make money on those trades. They're putting them out, but even though no one's buying them and waiting for the trade, they're just like a placeholder, I guess. Like if that makes sense.
Yeah, And I think for some people it depends on how they like to read their stories. Like some people, they like that cliffhanger at the end of each issue.
Yeah.
Right. To read that issue, have that cliffhanger, have that anticipation till the next time the next issue comes out, and then read that one. Whereas for other people, like if you're waiting, 6 months between each trip, anyways, and you're getting the whole arc when you pick it up, and you're reading it all at once, then that anticipation, that cliffhanger, isn't really a hook for you.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe that's a big difference too for different readers. Like some people want that cliffhanger, and some people want the I guess sort of like instant gratification of the entire story all at once.
So here's a meta thought to look at is, did Netflix ruin it for everything? Because when you're going to Netflix, you're not watching a show weekly. You're watching it all in one go. And does the cliffhanger at the end of each episode, does it have as much weight as it used to? Like, is it the same? Are comics following the Netflix model?
Or is Netflix one? I mean, I think the trades dispute or issue, however you want to call it, has been around probably longer than Netflix.
Oh no, for sure.
So it's almost a question of whether or not Netflix is following the comic book model.
That's a really good debate. Actually, I'd like people to weigh in on that one because did you cut your cable at home, or are you still have cable and Netflix?
No, we just have Netflix.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
use
cable. Yeah. And I can't watch episodic TV anymore since we switched, and maybe that's kind of triggering in my mind with the trade route as well. Like, I love going out and shopping for trades and then finding, like, if I want to find a new title to read, it's easier for me to find a new trade to read than a new title. Because it's like, okay, 3 or 4 issues came out, there's reviews online on how the series is, and a lot of people are saying it's great. Oh, and it's collected in trade now, and all 6 issues are out. I think I'm going to pick up the trade. A lot of people have been talking about it. It sounds really interesting, and I can get the whole story in one go. It allows me to experiment more, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, I like doing the single issue thing before I get into a whole story because, I'll look at some issues of something that I want to pick up. I'll grab the one that's kind of like a sampler or a teaser.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll pick that up and read that, and that's my kind of. I might pick up one, or if it looks really good, I'm gonna pick up 2 issues right away.
Yeah.
And that's my method of seeing, like, hey, does this story interest me? Does it look like something I want to read regularly? And then I kind of go from there. And then again, depending on the type of story and how it's released, is usually how I determine whether or not I get it in trade format or if I want to get it week to week.
Okay, so here's another question for you. If you hear a lot of stuff about a particular title that's been out for a while, I don't know, maybe like 10 issues in, 12 issues in, 20 issues in, and you hear so much about it, like, I want to try it out. Would you go back and buy the trades to get the earlier issues, or would you actually go back into the back issue bin and pick up the issues, or would you start with the trades and then potentially?
No, I think in that case, I'd probably go back and just get the trades.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're doing that, like if it's been out for however long, and since I start reading it, but I want to see the story beforehand.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I'd probably go back to trades rather than anything else.
Yeah.
But again, that's like, if we're talking a mainline comic, like when I started collecting seriously the X-Men series during Matt Fraction's time as writer.
Okay.
And at the time, like it was actually on a whim picking that one up. I think I was just driving home and I was stopped like, this is when comic books were still available in gas stations.
Yep.
And I just driving home from somewhere, I stopped at the gas station to get some gas and saw the comic book shelf and I picked up the latest X-Men issue, and it was right at a very good point where it was a new story arc was just starting.
Okay.
A new, just like not even just a small one, like a new, like overarching story in the comic book series.
Yep.
So I happened to pick up the one at just the right time, and so I started collecting the X-Men series from that point. So there's a certain thing too where, like, if we're doing a mainline comic, I start reading X-Men. If it's in the middle of a story arc, I'm gonna go back and get the other issues for that story arc.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get everything from the beginning of X-Men because I'll be reading forever.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? I'm not gonna get all the trades for that. I'm gonna get kind of far enough back to catch me up to what's going on. If there's things that happen, like, hey, you know what? I remember reading X-Men however long ago. Things are obviously different. Let's back up. Let's get the last few issues, last couple trades, maybe if I'm going back far enough.
Or you might go back and go Dark Phoenix Saga. Yeah, I'm gonna go pick that trade up.
Yeah, that's it.
I think you own that one, I believe. Right?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay.
And that's the thing I do. Like, there's certain key point story arcs that I would have in trade. But those are like the old like the original Civil War story arc, or the Venom saga, or Dark Phoenix saga. There's the certain ones like that are really cool to have in trade format.
Mm-hmm.
But that's for me as part of collecting. Is like I collect the series. There's the pivotal moments that I want to have in trade.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to have like just like the filler kind of stuff, like the stuff in between that's just sort of it's there, it's little adventures and side things, but it's not like the big stories of that comic.
So
I don't care as much about those ones in trade as I do the pivotal ones.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
The iconic ones.
Yeah. So what's your stance on the hardcover stuff, like the omnibuses? Like, do you own any omnibuses, and what would prompt you to go buy an omnibus?
For me, a lot of them, like some of the ones I have are like the old X-Men omnibuses from like the
70s
old
or whatever, or 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, like the old like kind of bronze, golden, or not golden age, but I guess like Bronze Age era of comics. I have a couple of those omnibuses, and those ones are I don't remember what prompted me to buy those. I just kind of came across them in the comic shop, but they're for me, it's from a line that's one of my favorite ones. Like, I mean, X-Men has always been one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Spider-Man has always been one of my favorites. Batman I really like. So those ones, going back and getting the big series from the big omnibus issues from those kind of that era of comics, that's something that will sell it to me. You got a really big collection of Bronze Age or Silver Age comics.
Because it's impossible to buy single issues.
Yeah.
So which ones? So out of the omnibuses you have, like, which ones do you actually have? So you said you have X-Men. Is it Uncanny X-Men?
That's right.
Like the first one?
I'm
curious.
I think so, yeah.
So like the Claremont Byrne, Dave Cockrum run, I guess.
I think I would go check, but I lose signal in the basement.
Oh yeah. Don't go check it. Don't.
I'd have to double check exactly who's on that one, and whenever I'm in.
I was So when I was collecting X-Men back in the day, this would have been in the 80s, and when I got my first real job, like, I don't know what issue it was at, but it was like 280 issue 280 maybe or something. Anyway, I can't remember exactly, but it was Chris Claremont was still on it, and John Romita Jr. was the artist. And then I actually went back and collected probably 30 or 40 single issues. And then I filled in the rest with trades. So I tried to find, like, I'd buy the trades, but the trades didn't include everything. So then I'd buy all the single issues in between. And I went back as far as issue 180 or 170 or something to get the whole run. So I could read the whole run front to back, which was pretty insane. That was dumb. It was so expensive. But like, for an omnibus for me, like, the whole Captain America run that precedes the death of Captain America, when Captain America was assassinated.
Yep.
Like, I collected all that in single issue format, and I did buy a few of them in trade format. And then I'm like, this storyline is just too good. And then they released the omnibus, which was the entire run. So I ended up buying the omnibus because, I mean, like, most of the stuff in the Marvel movies with Captain America was based on, that run. So, I mean, I bought that on omnibus. And the same thing with the X-Men and, Captain Marvel. And, well, I've got a lot of them.
I think like shorter limited runs are really good for that. Like, if they released an omnibus of the Superior Spider-Man line when
that'd be perfect.
Doc Ock was in control.
Yeah.
Like that would be good because I mean it was a really good run. It wasn't super short. It was actually lasted for a fairly long time. So too long for a trade. It'd be really good to see in an omnibus.
And that's what I like about an omnibus, because it doesn't capture a single story arc. It captures a bunch of them, but it captures one overarching story arc. And in that case, I like getting in the omnibus version because it's almost like a DVD of, like you're getting like a Blu-ray collection of something. And then it has all the behind the scenes stuff in there too, which is really, really good. Old interviews and stuff like that. Like the X-Men one had some really good stuff. Interviews with like John Byrne and Chris Claremont and some of the stuff they were fighting over. Original ideas that they didn't use and stuff like that. Like that's kind of cool. Like that's what Least I Could Do does with their year-end collections. It's a behind the scenes.
Yeah, they got their commentary the whole way through.
But that's what I like about the omnibus. It's better than the trade in that you're getting some extra material as well, which is really cool. Like I really like that format to it.
Mm-hmm.
I would buy omnibuses every time if I could, but they're kind of pricey.
Yeah.
But
so I mean, it's very on the fence. I mean, I'm very much kind of right in the middle of the road where I like both.
Yeah. So do you also buy single issues, and then you would go buy the trade, and then you might actually go buy the omnibus because they're that good for the same run?
I don't think I've done that. I try to keep it to, if I have a whole run or something, I'll try to keep it to one version of it.
Yeah.
Just to not have repeats.
Yeah.
If I have repeats, I'd probably sell them.
Yeah.
I'll try to find whichever one I want to keep and sell the other one. But so, I mean, I don't generally have a lot of repeats. Like, I don't have the same thing in single issues as I do in trades.
So is there anything that you've done where you collected all three, though? And then you maybe sold the trades later?
The only time I can think of where I did that, actually, is Green Lantern's Blackest Night.
Oh, yeah.
Where at the time, I got really hooked on the story.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to wait for the trade, so I was buying the individual issues. And then when the trade came out, it was kind of similar to Spider-Verse, because there were so many different lines that were caught up in the Blackest Night.
Oh yeah,
that I couldn't afford to buy all of them. But again, there were still so many that there were different. There's several different trades to catch all of the different story arcs that were caught into it. So I've got a couple of those trades as well.
Yeah.
But in that case, I mean, for those ones, I actually do still have both the single issues and the trades for that line.
Interesting. I did that with Why the Last Man. That was the big one for me. Like I jumped on the series too late, so I bought the trades, the back issue trades, to get caught up with that. And then I would buy the single issues and all the trades as they came out because it was just that good. And then after the whole series was done, they started releasing hardcovers, which contained, I don't know, like 3 paperback trades in it.
Yep.
And I was like, damn it. So I had to buy them in hardcover because I think that's one of the series I've reread the most. Like I've gone back and reread it a bunch of times, and Sylvie's read it a bunch of times. So as a hardcover in our household, it makes sense because we're both going to go back and read it. We also did that with Buffy the Vampire Slayer when they added another season to the show, but in comic book format. That was just so amazing, just so good. Mm-hmm. And then it did the same thing with the Captain America run that Brubaker was doing.
I have a few of the Firefly comics too in hardcover. That's the same thing.
Yeah. Those are good. Those are really good. So what prompted the whole conversation was the Infinity War movie, actually, because I watched the movie and I'm like, I read the Infinity War is actually based off of Infinity Gauntlet. Mm-hmm. And I bought it back in the day because it was a crossover and, it was going to be game-changing and all that sort of stuff. But I haven't read it in probably 10 years or maybe even longer. So I didn't really remember everything. I just remembered key moments. And most of those key moments are in the movie. But I went back and decided, okay, I've seen the movie. I've thought about the movie a lot. Sylvia and I have talked about it maybe too much. And I'm like, okay, well, what did they take from the comics? So I went and read back the 6 issues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting, and I almost like the movie better, which is weird. Like, you wouldn't expect it to work that way, right? But
Yeah, I mean, usually you find them. I think usually at best I like them both the same, but in different ways.
yeah. But in the comic, the last 10 minutes of the movie happens in the first issue of the comic.
Oh, okay.
And,
Yeah, you know what? I do remember. I never read the original run, but yeah, I do remember that. That happened.
Yeah, like the finger snap. I'm not going to spoil it, but the finger snap. That happens in the first issue. And it's like, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was a great cliffhanger for the first issue of a comic book.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
So they left it as the cliffhanger in the movie at the tail end of the movie to lead into the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
So in the movie, or in the comic, it was the repercussion to that. Like, how are they going to come back from that and all that sort of stuff. And in the movie, it's like, I kind of know how they came back from it in the comics, and I kind of know how they're going to come back from it in the movie. Maybe not exactly directly how they're going to do it, but I know how they're going to resolve the problem.
Sure.
So when it happened in the movie, I'm like, yeah, I know that. I knew that was going to happen at some point. Which, I don't know. Which is like, when it happened in the movie, it was like, I kept waiting for it to happen because I knew it was going to happen. Because why would you call it this if you weren't going to go with that? And
I think even people like I said, I haven't read the original story from the comics. I never read that line. But even me, I mean, just knowing, I guess, how these stories work, being a fan of the comic books myself, it's the same thing. Like, I know it's coming.
Yeah.
That wasn't a question. It was just, how's it going to get there is the question, right?
Yeah, exactly. I should have lent it to you. I actually still have it out. I went and dug it out of my long box under the stairs, buried under tons of stuff, but I had to find it. And I read it. It was good. I should lend it to you. It was a good read. I'm going to provide a review of it.
Yeah, for sure.
On the blog. But it's worth reading. I actually wouldn't mind if you read it and we actually talked about it.
That'd be fun.
As another episode. I think that'd be kind of fun. It's only 6 issues, so it's not that long a read. But the key players in the comic versus the key players in the movie is very, very interesting. So anyway, I think we've talked this out. I think this is pretty good.
Cool.
Any other end comments?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Awesome. That was fun. Now we have to do it again. Now that we did it once, now we can do it again.
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks, Thomas. I'll keep you on the air after I sign out. So we'll see you guys in the next podcast. All right.
Bye.